Okay, let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So peace and blessings, family. How y'all doing this morning? How you doing, Ia?
I'm cool. How about you?
I'm doing
Yeah.
great. I'm in here
Yeah.
just trying to. I was telling Ia I start my day like at 5 in the morning. I go into my prayer room and I pray and study for about an hour, and then I get my day started. So I just realized the days that I start off like that, and they just be just good days. Like I feel more balanced, more prepared. Like it's a good thing. So I'm very grateful, like to just even have time to even do that. So.
Ashe, Ashe,
Mhm.
Ashe.
One of the Orishas that we studied and talked about the other day, I was realizing which one? The Orisha of wealth. I was looking, I have a
Ashe.
pretty altar for Oshun, and right above Oshun are all of these pretty precious stones. And that, I guess that Orisha usually is by Oshun. And I just picked that up there because my someone gave me those pretty precious stones. There, I was gonna make something with them, but I just kind of they come on a string like they have them, so I just kind of have
Mhm.
them over there because they look so pretty. But they're
Mhm.
like precious stones, and I was like, wow, like I had no idea. So learning about these other Orisha has been very helpful for me, honestly,
Ashe.
because I can
Ashe.
look around and see them. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
how you doing, Ia Colette?
Oh, I'm here. I'm good. Hey, I always say I'm 6 feet above the ground. I'm good.
Right on, right on.
Ashe.
So before we get into stuff, how many? This is a book that I have. Let's see where my camera is. This way. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of Orishas in this book as well,
Yeah.
and so I have a few of his books. To be honest with you,
That's John Mason. Yes.
yes. So I have
Mm-hmm.
a few of his books, and yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my first books that I utilized. When I first started to study was that book. About different region. It was actually pretty good. A very good book. Thank you for bringing that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and even though LaDonna's not on here with us, she did send some information on some. First of all, LaDonna, 'cause I know she may be listening. Thank you for that link. So she sent me a link, and I should probably be sharing the link, and I will. Of she sent me a link of a list that has a lot of Orishas in it as well, and what they mean and the meanings and all. So I'm really excited about that. I have to go back and pull it up again because I had to reboot my laptop. Because like I'll be talking to you all, but I'll also be on my laptop commenting on people, talking to people. So that's why you see me looking this way. Um, but the question I want to ask the two of you is what pulled you to this path? What was it?
Well, for me, as growing up, you kind of have this feeling when you hear certain things. My mama used to play Mango Santa Maria uh, when we used to have the albums, and it used to just make me feel a different kind of way to that music, and I would move to that music differently than I would to what was happening, which was, I feel like we grew up in a pretty cool era of music. That music always drew me that way, and as I um, was in the church, I would ask questions that when I would try to get answers that a person I felt like the person didn't know how to answer would be uh, that I'm doing something bad, I'm backsliding or something. I'm just not, you're just supposed to just believe. And I just feel like there had to be more answers. When I became a Buddhist in Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism, the leader, indicator at that time, said, sent me a pamphlet when I couldn't get to uh, a gathering in LA. That pamphlet, it said, "Look to Africa for your future." I'm like, okay, here's the leader of this thing here, and he's saying, look to Africa for the future. So that told me something. I'm going in that direction I need to go. As I started studying and looking at what is being said about who we are and what we created and what we've done as people, we can look at going across the oceans and stuff when there was no such thing as longitude and latitude yet, and we knew how to know which herbs could heal us and which just doing this and that. There's got to be something there. I wanted to go back as far back as I could go to knowing what is it that helped us way back then. It had to be a balance, and we could do all these things. Everything to me pointed to Africa. The deepest that I could go, the oldest that I could find was Ifa. And that's so just looking at the different things that it says people do. It's the oral tradition, which is one of the reasons why I was a Buddhist, because it was something that was passed down where I felt like it was passed down to a lineage. And you find that is what happened. People have the oral tradition. Everything that we're learning, 90% of it really isn't written. We really can't look up all of what we really want to know on the internet. There's only so much of us who communicate with each other where we can even get to know as much as we really, really want to know. So it was just that knowledge and that feeling that this is something that I can utilize in my life for me to be able to help those who I care about, who I connect with, who, even if it's just a person I don't even know you on the street and I'm saying hello to you with a smile, because that's what I'm drawn to do. It's like I think that all of this connects, that our spirituality, we're all different, although we are also, the individual flowers that come together to make a bouquet. And so with that, these different pathways, we're coming to the same pathway. We're coming to that same ocean, that same unification amongst all of us. And I feel like this pathway will bring us back there. That we're coming around full circle to come back to where we need to go and to make that circle even bigger and wider and more stronger than it was before.
Right on.
Yeah.
Ashe. What about you, Colette?
Well, for me, I was born into the tradition. Although I can't say it. Well, let me put it this way: from the time that I was born until now, a lot of the tradition has evolved and changed to some degree. And when I say the tradition, I'm not just talking about the Ifa or the Kumi. I'm just talking about African spiritual tradition. That was my family. That's how. That's what I was born into. We didn't talk about it being Ifa or being Kumi or being any of those things. We talked about it as this is the way we live. This is what we do. So, and then of course, you as you're maturing and you get into your early 20s and you think you know everything, you you go on your merry way and you want to do this and do that and do all sorts of things that you need to do in order to have those experiences to be who you will become as the years go by. So I had all those experiences. I mean, living in the East Village and um, uh, the sex, drugs, the LSD, the whole. I was there for the whole thing. um, the Panthers, the other parties, the horses galloping at you, the dogs trying to bite you. I mean, just the whole 60s, 70s experience. Um,
Mhm.
and during that time, I I had my tradition, but I wasn't really very active in that. Yeah, I went the way of Buddhism and looking at that and looking at all sorts of different ways of connecting with spirit. And then as I got a bit older and different things happened in my life, I just went home. I went back to what I know and what bubbles within me. It's in me. It's just who I am. And so, and when I got back to it, it had changed. You know,
Yeah.
I went to Lukumi and see, for me, Lukumi, Ifa, Candomblé, if I were in Brazil, I would check that out. It's all the same for me because it's always
Yes.
been
It
just the tradition for me.
is.
Um, so I was kind of wondering about why these people were arguing over stuff that seemed to me like you have a relationship with the Orisha and your ancestors, and that's it. If you do it one way and I do it another, who cares? I mean, not who cares, but there's no right or wrong. The Orisha if you do something that the Orisha do not approve of, they will let you know. And as long as they're okay with it, I'm okay with it, you see.
Mhm.
So we had to kind of get rid of that judgment of others. Um, and here I am. I wound up right here with you, Ro, and you, my lovely sister. I'm so glad to meet you. Here
Me
we
too.
are.
Yes.
Um, you know,
So let me ask you this, Ia. Why do you think why do you think sometimes there is such a need for us to divide? Like I watched a couple of videos yesterday and it was really good. They were giving their explanations of different Orishas. It was pretty cool. But I don't know what it is about us in terms. I don't know if that's something that happens of being removed, or maybe never not having your own thing, or where you want to be like, what we do is different. Like when we know that the root is the same.
hmm
Like I learned how to make greens in my 40s, to be very honest. And so like I make my greens really good, but my sister make greens, her greens are good. And so
yeah,
even though we may have little things here and there that may be different, we're still making greens. You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah.
why do you think there is such a division sometimes with us in African spirituality systems? Why do you think there is such a divisiveness sometimes for some of us? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from the fact that we are people of the sun and the sand who are trying to live like people of the ice.
Mm.
They, um, when you think of, and I go back to the ancients and our history and try to make sense of things in that way. But when you think that the world has been populated,
Keep,
uh,
I'm just gonna step out, but just keep talking because I can hear you.
okay, the world's been populated by the people who came out of Central Africa. That's where humanity um, started, Homo sapiens sapiens. So, and we went across the earth and we peopled the earth. We went north into Europe and we got caught in the Ice Age, in the Wormian Ice Age.
Mhm.
And so when we were caught up there, we had to, it was, and Wormian Ice Age was cold. It wasn't like being in Chicago in the wind when it's 40 below zero. It was much worse than that. And so we had to go into caves. That changed us. It changed our hair. It changed our noses. We got those little thin noses because you don't want to take in a great big breath of that cold, cold air. It changed. It changed us. I don't know what the hell it did to our behinds. I don't know why we did lost that part. But anyway, uh, but I was thinking, I always think it changed us mentally. That must have been an all. Do you know, we are in our homes for some of us have been in for 3 weeks, some for two, some for one, some for however long we've been in our homes, and we're going stir crazy. Can you imagine being in caves for hundreds or at least tens of thousands of years? That changes how you relate to other human beings, how you relate to nature, how you relate to the world, how you think. It changes who you are. And all the while, the rest of us were living wherever we were living. Our African descendants were having a grand old time. I mean, we had fruit on the trees and we had good civilization. So I think that's the root of why we have this great separation. I think the root comes out of European, um, ways of being, and that we, all over the world, not just American, African Americans, not just Caribbean, African Caribbeans, or African European, all over the globe, we have been affected and I would say damaged by the European um, takeover, the European mental takeover of our minds. That we might be, and we are not free even physically, but for all intents and purposes, we think we are. So, but mentally, we're still sitting, a lot of us, in slavery. And so that calls for separation. That calls for I am better than you. You had to have that combative piece in order to exist in that cold, in those caves. So
Mhm.
when you went outside and there was an animal and you wanted to get it to eat, and somebody else was out there, you hit them over the head. You weren't interested in sharing because you didn't, in some cases, I'm sure people were eating other people. You had to eat whatever you could get a hold of. And that, after hundreds of years, thousands of years, that changes who you are. And that has permeated everything on this globe. And it's not going to change until we, and when I say we, my belief is the Black um, mother, the feminine energy, has to be put back into, she has to take back her rightful place in order to get us on into Ma'at. Okay, into Ma'at. So we have this combative, mine is better than yours. Do you know how many Christian religions there are? And all of them say they're the one? And there is no the one. We're all here together trying to evolve and be better than we were when we got here and get back to Creator. You're looking for the creator, go out into creation, LaDonna's quote. And so we've taken on this combativeness that has come out of the European mind. And of course, this patriarchy, which has done no good for any of us. And so it really is up to us. It's up to the African descendant Black goddess to stand in her power. And that means we've got a lot of work to do. But that's my thought on that.
Yeah, anything,
I just
Mahib?
love the thought. I'm sorry. Just because I was thinking along those lines about the creations and how we got separated with, and I usually go back to the Ice Age when I'm talking to teaching children and stuff about, you know, how do we go with that? I know, no, you started there. We were able to travel, and I talk about the Ice Age. So I really love how you put it. You know, you could take like how you talking about how LaDonna's got her thesis. That explanation, how you worded it, was on it. It made a whole lot of sense. You know, and I think that not just with the European, but even like when they went to like Asia, they ended up in all the different parts, how our colors changed, the tonality of us, how our eyes changed, depending on how you had to look at the sun and the areas and stuff. You know, so and to bring it back to the fact that it is Mother Africa, you know, that's where we all came from. We just had to change the ways. And so the mental part you talked about is essential because you had to change in order for you to survive in the environment that you were in. You know, so yes, that the competitiveness is probably more like an instinctive survival for us. Because if we watch the creatures around us, we watch how they have to operate in an environment for them to survive, whether it's in their natural survival habitat or when they have to travel to a different area, you know, and how they have to adapt for their survival. And that's what we do. And that's what we've been doing. And like you said, we've got to bring it back, you know, bring it around full circle that this is where it started. There's a reason why we had to travel journeys in order for us to get to this point. You know, I find it interesting that you also brought up being a Buddhist also, because for me, it helped me to break away from a certain way of thinking to be able to get into the way we're thinking at this point. It seemed like the Buddhism part for me, and it could be other aspects for other people, for me, it helped me to open my mind to a different way of thinking about how we can control and how we can communicate with each other, you know, and the universe help the changes to come about. You know, so with that competitiveness that we've been doing, we could change that and how we're looking at how we're going to survive. Because, well, you brought up the other day about, you know, the women and how the men, you know, they kind of got lazy. And you didn't use these exact words, but it kind of like made me think about it later on, how we were always doing for them. You know, in the book 2000 Seasons, they talk about how the women noticed that the guys were getting lazier and lazier. They weren't going out there anymore to go get the hunt for the meat, you know, anymore. So the women had to not only do the tending of the herbs and taking care of all of the things they were doing at home, they had to now go out there and get the meat too. And how the women at that time in that particular region decided, well, you know what? That herb that we're harvesting for you, make the drink you like to drink that makes you sit there back and not want to do that. We're not going to make that no more. You know, because we now have to take that time when we're making that for you and your relaxation, go out to go hunt the meat, you know, and how that had to change, you know, for us to continue to be able to survive and keep, you know, our families together. So, yeah.
So with that being said, how do you propose that we connect back to those African ways, those ancient ways? How do we utilize being in communication with those energies, those spirits that help us reconnect to the root.
Um,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I always go back to the ancestors. Um, um, but in saying that, I also realize that there have to be ways, very practical ways, for us to begin to make those changes. Um, Despite the fact that what I'm seeing happening to us right now is that some of us are getting further and further apart because we're afraid of each other. And we're afraid of each other because they're telling us that we're going to, that we're going to affect, let me finish the sentence, that we're going to affect each other negatively, health wise. But it reminds me of when HIV and AIDS first hit,
Hmm.
and we were pulling our children, not we, others were pulling their children out of school, and they were afraid to be next to people and afraid to talk to people and afraid to uh, have interaction with others. And that seems to be, but this is worse because this is on a worldwide scale. To me, it's worse. I don't know if the illness itself, I don't know if the health issue is worse, but I know that our separation in touching each other and there's nothing. There are a few things better than a really good hug from somebody when you're having a hard time. And now we don't even want to stand anywhere near another human being. That's not good. That's real bad.
Yes.
So I don't exactly know how we're going to bridge the gap. But what I do know is that we're going to have to bridge that gap because we are communal beings deep down in our souls, in our hearts. We are communal beings. We need each other. There are people who are going kind of stir crazy now because they're used to being out. They're used to being, even if it's just used to being. I know we talk about the guys that hang out on the street corners or sell the drugs, or that none of that. That's not a good thing. I'm not condoning it, but it's a communal thing. It's something that we do uh, together, and
Hmm.
we're going to have to go back to that. Um, so bridging this gap for us, we're going to have to come up with step one, step two, step three, step four. You have to work from wherever you are. If you're a person that has been indoctrinated with this, I'm better than you and I have to look better than you and I have to be more educated than you. I tell you one thing, we like them people that work in the grocery store right about now.
You're right
Shit.
about that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
we some of us, I keep saying we, but some of us used to look at the person that rang up them groceries or the person that was stacking them shelves, and we didn't. That's not like a doctor, or that's not like a lawyer, or that's not like a this or that or whatever. They're real important right about now.
That's right. Essential. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Essential.
yeah. So we're going to have to learn to live and to think um, differently. We're going to have to be less judgmental of others. We're going to have to stop this nonsense of looking at somebody who happens to make uh, 100,000, 200, $1 million, some of our athletes a year, and look at them like they know what they're talking about, or they're better, or they're this, or they're that. We're all the same, actually, because
Mhm.
those guys that are putting that basket in that ball, I bet you they ain't putting the groceries on the shelves so you can eat. You
Mhm.
know, the other thing that we really need to be looking at, I know I'm going a little off topic here,
You're fine.
is we need to be looking at the fact that everything that we need or everything that we use comes out of the government. Our health care, our education, our food, they really have control of our food supply. Everything that we, even our ability to leave our homes and have a conversation with somebody in their home, the government is controlling everything. Our clothing, everything that we have, the government is controlling. That's not good. We have to grow our own food. We have to start digging wells to get our own fresh water. We we don't even make our underpants if you wear them. So what that tells you a whole lot. What do we manufacture for ourselves? Nothing. And
Yes,
when
ma'am.
I say we, I mean
Yes,
we black people.
ma'am.
The other ones have to worry about themselves. You can go into certain stores, into the Caribbean stores or Latino stores. They have the food that their people eat. They import it from Mexico or wherever they get it from in the Caribbean. They import certain things from Jamaica or wherever. They have those things, but that's on a small scale. But for the rest of us, we depend on the government, on the white man government, because that's the government, for everything.
So, do you think learning about the Orisha who is overfarming that we now should start some kind of garden or something in our yards or in our window sills, or there's so many videos out of how to basically grow, things that you can eat. You know what I mean? In your home, because I just think that even though the government whatever has power, I still believe people have the power if they remember their ancestors and be willing to utilize the information to sustain their self now. But most of us don't know how to do that. I mean, you would think we do, but we don't. And so,
Mhm.
how do we give charge to the Orisha over the governing? I mean, of gardening. Sorry, of gardening. Like,
I'll
how
let
important is that?
sister. I'll let my sister answer that because I've been talking.
Oh, you're speaking the truth, so hey, we listen as long as you're talking, sis. But we have to. That's what I was saying. We know. We have people around us who can teach us. We have to connect with each other because we can't do it by ourselves. We are, like you uh, reminding us, we are communal people. There are ways that we can get the knowledge from each other as to how do you do the plant? How do you plant this? Is this the right season for me to plant some peppers? That's something that I like to get into my a lot. Is this the right season to plant this? And how do I do it so I can see it? Because I went to like for example, Israel Farms. They're community people that uh, do workshops and stuff and help people in the community know how to do from scratch what to do. They talk about the things that they used to do, which a lot of us, a lot of us used to use rototillers, because I thought that's what you were supposed to be doing. As did they, and we found out that actually you're messing up the ground. You're messing up what you've already done when you use the rototiller. Because of how it turns the earth certain way. there's some things that we just basically forgotten over the ages and the centuries because we don't. We a lot of us have not gone and have the opportunity to be with somebody who could show us one of our elders who could show us, girl, you just could take a piece of this plant and stick it in the ground and it will grow. We don't remember, we don't know the basis, so we have to communicate with each other. How do you do that? Somebody might know how to do some colors, and somebody might come along and say, you know what, I also add this, I like what you're doing, but I add this to it, and not looking like I'm being better. I got a better way of growing up. How about if I share this information with you? This is how I do it. Your sister cooked greens a certain kind of way, and you cooked them a certain kind of way. Sharing that and say, well, girl, mine tastes better. Hey, y'all, do that kind of competition. And we tend to do that. But we need to go back to let's share the information, share what it is we do with each other so we could, because we're all coming from different knowledges, different pathways, different stuff. It's okay. It's like when I do dance, I can do 50 moves to lamba. Sister Angela might have another 50. Sister Michelle might have another 50. It's 150 different steps so that we could share with each other, teach each other how do we do what we do. It's okay for it to be different in Ghana than it is in Guinea, and they're both the dance of lamba. Because often I've taken the rhythm that they showed me in Guinea, and I combine it with the rhythm that they showed me from Senegal, and like, oh, hey, this is cool. Because somebody created something somewhere along the way. Why can't we continue to do that?
Right on.
Because we're going to create. It is a different time. Like Ia said, is that things have changed. And we're part of that change. We could continue to be part of that change. Shay, so it's we're in that creation. We are part of that creation.
Sister,
we are standing in it.
Sister Honey said, I grew a garden every year, and I would teach my grandkids. Thank you, sis.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. LaDonna, you can share your own comment then, since you in here.
So I typed a comment in the chat that says this is a time that those of us who share similar beliefs and values should start forming small communities. So, and the reason why I just closed the door to the office so I could jump on, because I had a lot more that I wanted to say about that.
Please.
And what I want to say is those of us who share the belief systems, we can come together, right? We don't have to all live in the same house and live on the same block. But if we're local, right? Like there's at least 3 of us on this chat live in the same city. So if we have a conversation we're having a conversation right now about gardening. So all of us who want to break the ground and create gardens, our tradition says we go to Orisha Oko. We make offerings. We ask his blessing, right? We go to Osanyi. We ask his blessing. So we go to Orisha Oko, and the earth yields to us. We go to Orisha Osanyi, and Osanyi gives us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the medicine of the different herbs we plant. So what we don't know, I might misuse this word, but what we don't know colloquially, what we don't know intellectually, we can download it spiritually. And then the 3 of us here in the same city, we work together, and then we reach out to others who may not follow our tradition, but share the same belief system, like you mentioned, the Israel Family Farm, and then we gain more knowledge from them, and we expand what we can individually offer to the community, because what's that saying? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So as an individual woman growing a small plot of collard greens and onions and garlic, that becomes a whole different scenario when the 3 of us, 4 of us, 5 of us bring all of our harvest together, and then there is complete meals for each household to take back home. So there's always direction from the Odu on how we can build community. There's always direction in the Odu on how we can build community and how we can sustain ourselves. So even if we're not doing it now, the lessons are there for us to practice and learn to do it.
Ashe.
What Orishas were you saying? I got the first one. What other Orishas were you saying, Adana? Because I'm trying to list them in the comments. So I got Osana. I got that one. What other
I
one?
said Orisha Oko.
Yeah.
And who else?
And Osani. You got
Osani.
Osani.
I got Asani. Okay.
Yeah. Kosi Ewe, Kosi Orisha. No plants, no Orisha. So that comes from Osenian. We are people of nature. We go back to nature. We go to those herbs to heal us. What this whole virus thing, Osenian is here to heal us, but um, we must petition him, and we must realize that it's through our music, it's through those drums and the petition that awakens the healing properties in the herbs. There's work that we have to do in conjunction with our Orisha to heal ourselves. And I don't know. Well, we're doing that work. I know we're doing that work. Probably not as many of us as could be, but we are doing that work. So no herbs, no Orisha. If you talk about any Orisha, they have certain herbs and plants that they are connected with, that they have an affinity with, and we have to look to nature for our healing.
So with that being said, Sister Honey said, "Is anyone in here from Ohio?" No. Sorry, sis. But I know there's definitely have to be people in Ohio. Well, actually, our other Queen Mother is in Akron, Ohio. Is she in Akron?
Yes.
Ohio. So we'll get you connected with her. Matter of fact, I'll put her information in your link so you can see her information. And she's from Ohio. And then Sister Michelle Jordan said, what's the African topic today? And I think today we're talking about the link between spirituality and our healing, especially during this time. And we're talking a little bit about forming in the earth, because we know all of this work really does have to do with how we treat the earth, or the replications of earth that are walking around. What has to be sustained by the big earth that we're living on. And really focusing on those two Orisha in particular that's over the forming. Because I think a lot of us, don't really, it's okay to be in love with the most famous Orishas, if you will, let me say it like that. But the ones that actually going to help you sustain your life, that forming, the ones over forming, that's major. That's absolutely major. What is one way we can, and Adana, you gave a really good explanation. There are a couple of YouTube videos that I found that even shows you how to do gardening in cups that are upside down. I don't know if y'all seen that video, so it can grow like tomato. It's really small things. And so it's not like you're going to go, like my homegirl Javon just bought a farm in Louisiana, so she ain't playing. But for those people who are not going to buy a farm or even have some in their backyard, what are some of the simpler things you can do to sustain your life? Because we know there's the spiritual and then there's the physical. And those two have to be in balance. And when they're out of balance, we kind of get what we got right now. You get a lot of sickness when there's no balance. So
we have to, the other thing is, we, the women, we have to learn how to cook our own food and stop going to the fast food places and giving our children that crap. We have to learn how to cook our own food. Get yourself a set of pots. Even if you don't get a set, get a couple of pots and pans and whatever you need. Get something to eat on besides paper. Get yourself some plates and some forks and knives, and sit down with your children and your family. If you have a husband, sit down and break bread together. I don't know. Stop that stuff with everybody has a television in their room and they get their food, they go in their room and they sit down and everybody's looking at a different show. Come to the one room and look at a documentary or something. Have some conversation with your family. I hope that we're doing that during this time. Cooking some food to learn how to bake. Some of us can bake, some of us can't. You might find that that's not the best thing for you, but you can make a pot of greens and learn how to make your own bread. You know, there are things that we have to do. We have to take it from behind, take it from the past, and bring it forward because we're going to need it. This should be letting us know. And the other thing is, learn how to sew a garment, even if it's a couple of one piece of material in the front and one piece of material in the back. You got yourself a skirt or something, or a shirt or something. Get a piece of material and wrap it around yourself. Even learn how to wrap a piece of material around your hips.
Right on. Is there an Orisha for family or pulling together your family or?
Good question.
I always think that that's
Yeah,
the
man.
ancestors.
Who?
The ancestors. Our ancestors.
Okay.
So that's just straight
Ancestors.
Yeah. That works well.
right. Well, as we wrap up in these last 5 minutes, what are you all's closing remarks for today?
Back to nature. Because I mean, it's basic. We have to at this time. It's like everything happens for a reason. So we are being having that time for us to look back to basics, back to nature, back to doing just the ground, grassroots. This is what we do, and enjoy that. So, and I think that will humble a lot of people too, because it makes you have to let go of that separation thing, because it's all back to nature. Because I remember when I was in the Bay, and I remember going to the church I was doing at the time, and I told the minister that the most time I felt that spiritual energy rise when we had the Babalaos come, and we delved into that spiritual from that roots thing, because it was dirt and rocks before there was a pyramid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like going just down to the basics. Yeah,
Right.
back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah.
Okay.
So my final thought is I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've always found a way to work this in, is sisterhood and community. Um, like Colette said, learn some self-sufficiency, right? Learn to cook something, learn to make something with your hands, learn how to spend time with your family in your household. That is step one. And step two for me is find a sister to do that with.
Mm.
And now you are beginning to grow a community. Now you have another sister, another family. Like, I make good chicken. She makes great rice and beans. Look how we've expanded the meal to feed twice as many people. I know how to sew. She knows how to bake bread. We both know how to go out to the river and find mugwort and lavender and chamomile. So we both know how to cultivate healing herbs for ourselves and for our family. And I have self sufficiency, but it becomes an exponential power when I have a sister who's also self sufficient. So I'm always going to say, on top of whatever we learn for ourselves, seek out other people in our communities to add to and have them add on to us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. All right.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes, sisterhood. For me, I'm going to go back to something that I learned right here. If you're looking for the creator, go out into creation. Put your feet on the earth. Plant your feet on the earth. No shoes, no socks, just your foot. And as you plant them, uh, ask the Creator for all that you need in this day, just for today, just for today. Yeah.
So, yeah, while you're talking, could you lead us out with a prayer?
I certainly will. Yes, I will. Um, I have one right here. I promise, as descendant and benefactor of your life, and I'm speaking to the ancestors, to uphold truth without fear and to never forget you and your sacrifices as I teach myself and our children to honor and respect you. We come to you humbly this afternoon or this morning and in prayer for the upliftment of our people, our children, our communities, our families, and our own spiritual preservation. We ask for guidance to help direct our minds and spirits in reconnecting with our truest selves, to know and to believe that our bodies are sacred vessels, that our wombs are the homes of the souls returning, that we are not without fault, but we must begin to forgive ourselves and others for any transgressions known and unknown. We pray for healing of our bodies, our spirits, and our minds. May you have a good day. May you be safe. Uh, may you have the strength of our ancestors. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo.
Okay.
And so it is. See you all tomorrow.